Hey, everybody. And there's Jason. Hello, Jason.
Hello.
You gotta find a way. You gotta find a way to do your computer and
I know.
your thing at the same time. Now you look good.
I'm thinking about getting a wireless keyboard, and that way I can
yeah.
have it on my lap there, and just kind of that way it all looks all natural.
What do you think I got all over the studio?
I know.
You know, wireless keyboards everywhere.
Something tells me after the show is over, there's going to be one placed on Amazon.
Yeah, you got to do Amazon. See, you know, okay, I like to go, believe it or not, well, because I'm a shut-in, but anyway. Oh, welcome. By the way, TGIGF.
Right.
Hello, Jason. Get it? That's what this is called. Thank God it's Good Friday!
Hey! There you go.
Yeah, we know Spock. Spock's going off here.
For all those Catholics out there, let's get ready to be humble.
Oh my gosh. So many people are going to be so angry. Okay, yeah, we get it, Spock, yeah. Dude, Spock, maybe I might have to do Spock like the Angry Orange. Remember, if you've ever seen this show before, years ago, the Angry Orange went off, and I had to throw it and disassemble it. But anyway,
he is a chatty Cathy today.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I came down here, and I was actually on the phone with a family member about an hour ago. Got down here early, yes, and the thing goes off, and it was like, is someone talking in the background? Is that what's going on? I'm just, I didn't want to go, no, Dad, it's just bobblehead Spock, you know.
Right. Yeah.
A what? A what? You know, Star Trek, never mind. I was like, oh, there's something going off here. No, never mind. But anyway, hopefully we're coming through okay. I think we're coming through okay. I think I got everything working. So yeah, it's Good Friday, which is kind of weird. So if you're, you know, well, I mean, okay, I've always had this thing about Good Friday, right? Ever since I was a kid. Now I grew up very religious, I would say. Oh, you know, I mean, it you know, it wasn't until, you know, the 9th grade that I was able to take off my Quaker outfit.
With the buckled shoes.
Oh man, he's. I don't know how to turn Spock off either. That's the problem. Yeah. Anyway. All right, Spock. So anyway, yeah. I mean, no, it wasn't that like that. Although I think my grandma grew up Quaker, but anyway, that's a different story. But yeah, I grew up with lots of religion, and I always was Good Friday as a kid.
Yeah.
I never could figure out Good Friday. You know, it was Good Friday, and it was like, oh, you know, that's when they put Jesus on the cross, and it was like, how was that a Good Friday?
Right. Explain. How was that good?
You know, TGIF, Jesus. You know, it'd be like,
right.
Thanks. Somebody get me down from here. Hey, you know what? It's just some religious humor where, you know, both of us were extremely, or were at one point extremely religious in our lives. Can't laugh a little bit. But, you know, happy Good Friday to you all. I mean, well, what do you say? It's like Merry Good Friday.
Right.
No, it's a very solemn day.
Yeah.
And why's it got to be on a Friday? You know?
That is darn inconvenient.
I mean, it's TGIF. Not that matters anymore, but, you know, it used to. You're pretty much like, you know, get in the truck after a long day of work, gonna go get a 6-pack at the 7-Eleven. It's Good Friday.
Good Friday, yeah. I got a theory about that, okay? I think they made Good Friday, the term Good Friday and the whole promo and PR, you know, the church. at a time when they a lot of the priests wear like horsehair shirts and like would whip themselves in the back.
They do that, don't
part
they?
Of it. I think it's just part of their sort of mind thing, just to.
Okay, so I know this from previous relationships and stuff. Like in places, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe but places like, say like in the Philippines, there's dudes who get crosses and they crawl and they get whipped and stuff, and it's like, whoa, dude.
When they go through Jerusalem on the the Via Dolorosa, with the giant cross on their back, and they're doing it's like
reenactment.
Civil War reenactment on steroids, right?
Mel Gibson's in the audience going, yeah, this is awesome. I should make a movie about this. Oh wait, I already did. It's like, Mel, just make Mad Max, dude. Calm down.
He's over there doing that screen thing. Oh, you're looking good. You're looking good.
This is a movie that actually I should see. Never seen it. To this day, I've never seen that. Is it called The Passion of Christ?
Yep, I've seen it, yeah.
Written and directed by Mel Gibson. I guess it was written by Jesus, but written by God, but, directed by Mel Gibson, I guess.
Adapted.
Yeah. I mean, and then there was didn't Martin Scorsese?
Last Temptation of Christ.
Last Temptation. Never saw. I don't know. Maybe I saw that one, but I was drunk.
William Dafoe, right?
Sorry. Yeah, Willem. See, that always freaked me out. I love Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, me too.
Now, was he Jesus in that?
He was Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah. See, love Martin Scorsese. Love William Dafoe.
Oh yeah.
But when you say Martin Scorsese directing a movie, William Dafoe is Jesus, it's like.
Because right then when you hear it, I get this mental image of Scorsese like, hey, William, will you do me a favor? Act a little more crucified, will you?
Yeah.
Okay.
What about? Hey.
Right. Come on, baby. Can you act a little more crucified for me?
Joe Pesci.
He's what, Judas or something like that?
Yeah, Joe Pesci's like, you think I'm funny? You think I'm funny? Do I humor you?
You mean?
It's like,
what, am I supposed to get 30 pieces of silver?
Yeah, oh God. A Martin Scorsese film. Right. Bobby De Niro. Joe Pesci is Christ.
Right.
Hey, the meek will inherit. Hey, shut the meek will inherit the earth. Come here. You think that's funny? Come here.
With
is that your pen? Is that your pen?
De Niro.
Is that your sandal? Is this your sandal? That's a nice sandal. Look at that sandal. What a nice. Hey, look at this sandal. Okay, they did a few years back. I was doing a podcast show on House of Sound, which I had wonderful co-hosts. Can't remember. But anyway, who it was at the time? There's Robin, and then there was Steph.
Gotcha.
But anyway, I did different, and then I did a jazz show. It was like me. It was like, what are you doing? What are you doing tomorrow? Oh, I've changed the format. I'm doing a jazz show now. Oh, I'm doing a podcast now. Whatever. But one of them, Saturday Night Live. Remember the what was that movie a few years ago? Tarantino, about the slavery, set in the South.
Oh.
Django Unchained, was that it?
Gotcha. Yep.
That had come out a few years back. That's obviously, and Saturday Night Live had done a skit with is it Christopher Waltz, the guy who was in Django Unchained? He was like the guest star, and it was around this holiday, around Easter, and it was Jesus Unchained, and it was like comes out with machine guns and he's coming back and he's not happy. It was very, very funny sketch. I'd show it, but we'd get copyright hit. Yeah. But I go up, look at. I'm sure it's somewhere on the SNL has a YouTube site. It's probably there from several years back. It was funny though. Right. It was basically the whole Django. Was it Django Unchained? Was that what it was called? I think that's what it was called.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. It was Jesus. It's like a holiday thing. Which by tomorrow night they're gonna do a Saturday Night Live.
Really?
Yes.
How are they going to pull that off?
It's going to be
quarantine
Saturday Zoom Live, like everyone else. Saturdays. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Which is interesting because I happened on one of the SNL people on their YouTube channel, and so I watched a little of it. It was interesting. I mean, she was in her house, in her room, on the Zoom, like the total webcam thing. You know, it's really sad, dude. Let's just be honest. When we're here, I'm just going to be inappropriate on Good Friday. We're here, the internet jagoffs, and we're doing this production, right? We're doing all this with the this and the that and and everything. And then you see Hollywood people get on there with their dirty webcam and their crappy mic, and you're like, what's wrong with this picture? Oh yes, this is the rapture when the YouTubers take over the world and Hollywood. Right. The meek shall inherit. The online meek shall inherit the internet.
That's right. You know, I was watching a SportsCenter on ESPN, and they had an interview with, athlete. I don't remember who, but it was from a webcam in their house.
Oh yeah.
And I sat there and I was watching it, and I was like, man, our feed is better than theirs. What, holy cow.
I mean, you're on a webcam right now, so we got webcam action going on because we just want to fit in like everybody else. But it's interesting, and it's not just it's not just us, but I mean, there's other YouTubers that I watch, and they've come up and increased their production values and everything as well, and it's just now Hollywood is doing. I mean, Kyle MacLachlan just did a thing. I missed it, but he did something on, I think it was on Instagram or Facebook or something Twin Peaks kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And he had his Twin Peaks coffee, except his had the symbol from the Red Room, the Black Lodge, whatever. It was really cool. I just saw the picture of him with his coffee cup, but it had that. I was like, ooh, I need to get that would go good with this one right here. But anyway, but I mean, that's cool, but it is kind of like, it's like, okay, Hollywood. I mean, I don't know. Is it these people we assume are multi-millionaires living in Bel Air? Cue the Fresh Prince lyric. Driving their Bentleys, and it's like, you guys couldn't go up on Amazon and order like the deluxe Logitech Super 4K HD webcam, maybe? It's like you losing your little eyesight, your little phone, selfie. But it makes it. I think part of the deal is it makes it authentic. Right? Or the appearance of authenticity.
Yeah, I can see that. Not so polished and cookie cutter.
Right. I mean, the whole YouTube sensation, all of that started with, people in their dirty bedrooms. Quite literally, with their webcams. Right. And half the time, and these people get millions of views.
Right.
And you're more fascinated by the dirty laundry behind them on the bed than they are. But it's like if Kim or Kanye go on the internet live, and it's a dirty, crappy webcam, they're gonna get like 1 million people watching them. Why? They're Kim and Kim and Conway Twitty. Not.
I would like to think there's just a whole lot of people with bad taste.
Well, I don't know. And then you do high production and nobody cares.
Yeah.
So I mean, and like you know, you got people, churches and whatnot, and they're doing stuff with their iPads, and then you're trying to help them do something a little bit. This guy's going to bring in a really nice camera. You'd be surprised what a nice camera and a mic will do.
Yeah.
On the internet.
Yeah.
But it's. So I was watching this gal, and actually, she's kind of a gal who's been on Saturday Night Live for several years. I shouldn't say who she is. Kind of have a crush on her. She's like really cute. Yeah, she's one of the really cute gals. And it's not Kate McKinnon.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah.
Does she have dark hair?
She does. She does.
Okay,
Yeah.
I got you.
But anyway, she was like doing live comedy. I mean, it was authentic. She was like reading through stuff that she was working on and writing and whatnot for SNL. So I think I want to check it out. It should be interesting. I mean, maybe the quality will be better, but people are going to be webcamming in.
Right.
I mean, you can do all this. That's the whole thing. You can do they've got a NBC studio, so they can, do like right here, what we're doing here. Take the webcam in and put people in boxes, the floating head in boxes like that.
Right, yeah. You know what I think, though? I think that a lot of people, the reason why they tune in a lot is I think they like the voyeuristic aspect of it. Like seeing somebody it's almost like Wild Kingdom, right? Seeing somebody in their natural habitat, a Hollywood person just sitting in their own front room,
I totally understand that aesthetic, but in a very different way, in a very different genre. Oh, man. This is really not the Good Friday stream. Put the kids to bed.
The adult portion of the evening.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, if the pandemic isn't bad enough, the lightning is going to strike, Steven Tyler's going to come out as when the lightning strikes. Yeah, so Good Friday. So so we had what was it? Was it Wednesday was Passover?
I
think it was Wednesday.
Yeah.
Cuz
I believe so.
I have rabbi friends and stuff too. I got everybody. Look. I'm a guy who likes science and stuff and grew up very religious, but I'm very respectful of everyone's thing. And I also think, as much of the history of organized religion is rather sketchy, I also think there's a certain psychological, certain things that are good and comfort, especially right now. So if I help somebody, some religious organization or something, I'm like, people need that right now. That's fine. Whatever, some people want to play guitar and other people want to
meditate,
religion and meditate, yoga. There's
yoga.
Oh, wait a minute. I missed my my chance of yoga. Sorry, Jason. I wasn't on top of it.
A lot of people are practicing.
Oh God! See, look, I have to do a different page here.
Oh, sorry.
To do hot yoga. Anyway.
Right.
Yeah, we kind of killed that.
Kind of.
Goose the other day. But anyway, I mean, so it's all good. I mean, it's all part of America and people doing what they do. Maybe some person wants to go out and ride their motorcycle or something out in the wind,
Whatever gets you to your happy place.
Yeah. But as a kid, growing up religious, the main church that I grew up in, Protestant, Lutheran, not too out there, they had a Good Friday service.
Oh, yeah.
And it was actually, as a kid, I actually liked that one because it had high production values.
Mm-hmm.
So the one that you didn't want to go to, the church service,
yeah,
is Christmas. Christmas Day. No.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Although the Catholics do a good midnight mass.
Well,
Christmas
we would,
Eve.
yeah, we would do that one, and don't do Christmas Day because what do you want to do as a kid at Christmas Day? Get under the tree and rip into those presents, right?
Right.
But even like the midnight, whatever, Christmas Eve, you're like, oh, I gotta get home. Want a train set, But Good Friday, Easter, you're pretty much, I got 2 more days, and then my skin's gonna break out from all the candy I eat,
Right.
So you got a little time. But Good Friday was weird. It was actually a legit religious day, a church day. And I don't know if you did this, but we went to a thing, and it was a midnight. It was like a late night Good Friday, and it lasted for a little while. And they turned the lights out. It got scary because they do is it like the Stations of the Cross or whatever, something like that? I mean, they do like, oh, I know what it was. It was the last words, and it's spooky because it's like Halloween, kind of, but it's not Halloween because that's before All Saints Day.
Right.
So the whole Good Friday thing was kind of spooky, but as a kid, I kind of dug it because it's organ music. They turn the light. They eventually just turn the lights out. There's a lot of spooky, and then we lit candles.
Oh yeah.
And then I think we sang Amazing Grace with candlelight. It was spooky.
Yeah.
It was spooky.
Catholics do it too. The Good Friday Mass, especially the one in the evening, very solemn, no music.
We had music, organ music.
Yeah, the lighting is just kind of like candlelight.
Yeah.
And a lot of the Stations of the Cross.
Oh, they passed candles around. You held. I'm a little kid holding a candle, and the pastor would say, "Please try not to burn down the church." Like every year, it'd be like. And we'd like to remind everyone to please be careful with the lit candles that you're holding in front of your hymnal.
Bobby, third row. That is a flame.
In a room full of wood pews and lots of velvet. Like, it's a wonder that church didn't burn down.
Well, yeah, because that the cleaning committee or whoever they're scrubbing those pews down with like old Dutch polish or whatever, and that thing would go up like a matchstick.
That was the whole thing. I ended up working as the cleaning committee, like on the weekends, like as a weekend job to clean it up, right? Mm-hmm. He needs a job. Go over there and do it. And so I worked for the guy he was like a retired guy, but he was the property manager of the church, board member, and he did not like the Good Friday. He did not like it at all. He was like, all right, yep, gonna come in here on Saturday after Good Friday. Guess what you're gonna do all day? Scrape wax off of the pews. I hate Good Friday. We don't need candles. Maybe we could use flashlights or something. It was right, too. It was like wax all over the pews. The people drip. So it was like, please don't burn down the church. Oh, by the way, please don't drip wax all over the pews. It's hard to clean up.
Right.
But it is amazing. So there's I don't know how many people are in this, a couple hundred people. And they all got little candles with a little paper thing so it didn't drip wax on.
Right. But
can they even do that now in 2020? I mean, this was a fire marshal's wet dream. I mean,
right? Yeah.
Get it? Fire marshal, wet dream. He's got a hose.
Ding it!
Okay. You were thinking something else, weren't you?
Hey,
this is terrible. But I need to laugh a little bit this week, right? Whew. Do we ever? But anyway, did you do something like that?
Oh yeah, Catholics, they still do
They still do Catholic? Do they still do that? Is that still around, like the Pope and everything? Church of Michelangelo, that still exists?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, they're hardcore, man.
Just kidding. So you did the candles and stuff like that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, same thing. So the big highlight was they do all the stuff and they do all the quotes because it's spooky. I mean, they're killing. Yeah. Not just the main guy, but 2 other guys with him. That's the other freaky thing. It's like, oh yeah, and we're gonna throw 2 other dudes in here. It's like Abbott and Costello go to Golgotha. Abbott!
Hey, Abbott! What do you want, Costello? Hey, who's the guy in the middle?
Oh. This is the most sacrilegious. I was like, I'm not gonna.
Could be worse. You could be doing a Three Stooges thing.
No. It would definitely be Abbott and Costello. Abbott and Costello meet Jesus.
Hey, you're putting those things into my hands.
No. Stop. Going too far.
Crown of Thorns.
It's just kind of no. I think of Abbott and Costello. Like didn't Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein and
Abbott and Costello meet Jesus.
Meet
the Messiah.
Costello's those the Roman guard would come up with them and they'd be like, shaking. Abbott! He's got a sword. Oh boy.
How you doing, Mr. Pilot?
Yeah. Next week it's like, hey, the Atheist called. They'd like to sponsor the show. No, it's all good. It's all good. Look, people who are worshiping right now are not watching this. They're worshiping. So Saturday Night Live writers, the Saturday Night Live cast are all like taking notes right now. Hey, this is some good material. We could put this on our crappy webcam. I almost said that word.
Our show.
I'm losing it. But it was cool though. As a kid, it was like, I kind of like this. It's spooky, gives me kind of the creeps, and then at the very end, it's like the whole thing and the candles, and I think it's amazing. And then and it would be we had a big pipe organ, and I'm a huge fan of the pipe organ. And so I hung out. That was the one thing about church was like, hey, wow, cool. Wow, this is cool. This is like Keith Emerson, but it's in a church, right?
Gives it that gothic feel. You know? Yeah.
I mean, as a kid, because there was that movie Rollerball. Not that I could say because it was James Caan, and of course the famous music from Rollerball is this Toccata and Fugue by Bach. Which is this spooky, the one spooky tune. I don't recall Bach ever writing that spooky of a tune, but Toccata and Fugue. And then it has this big fat chord that builds up. And it was like I'd just go to church all the time, tell the organist to be like, hey, can you play Toccata and Fugue? Can you play that on it? Can I just...
Slip Agatha a 5 there and say, hey.
Yeah. She'd just be like, get out of here, kid. Go to the organ grinder for that crap. Can you play 2001?
Are you taking any requests?
Can you play Star Wars? That'd be great. That's how they get the kids in the church. The kids walk in, all you're playing whatever, some Battle in the Republic. Kids walk. You see all the kids walking in. Da 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 da. It's like kids are like, "Hey, I like church."
Yeah, but then the priest would know who it was. He'd just turn around. Little Doc, settle down.
Yeah. Dun dun. The Imperial March. Dun, 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 dun. And then the devil tempted Jesus. Dun, 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 dun. Talk about an iconic, great piece that would sound fantastic on organ.
Oh yeah.
In fact, I think they would play that. They would play Star Wars. They would play all that stuff at the organ grinder.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, talk about that on your pipe organ at church. Dun, 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 as the priest walks in, you know. Dun, 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 dun. I dare them to play that. Do they have like a? I don't even know. Do they have like a pipe organ or whatever in the Sistine Chapel? I imagine they do. They must, right?
I think they have something like that. Yeah.
You know, I dare them to do that next time the Pope walks in with the cardinals. Dun 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 dun.
Right. Yeah.
Dun dun. The Pope's like, I'm from Argentina. I like soccer. Why are you playing the Imperial March? So the organ, but they would stop playing the organ. The lights were totally out.
Oh, yeah.
The whole church was lit by every single person with this candle. You know, and you're always, you know, you're standing up in a pew, so you're standing in front of someone where, you know, and it's Portland, so they're still wearing kind of a winter coat or whatever, you know, and maybe some people's hair, you know, with the Aquanet or whatever.
That's where I was going to go, because,
like,
you know, there's that one person that's in a ill-fitting dress with 2 cans of Aquanet just, you know, braced in the beehive there.
Don't get that candle close to the person in front of you. So the whole thing's lit up. So if you look at it, it's like, you know, and you got some stained glass and whatnot, so it's all over. The church is still there, by the way, in Southeast Portland. I won't say where, but it is actually still there. And so all these lights are going all over, so it's pretty impressive. And then some guy or a guy or a woman would sing some solo. Like would it be like see, I know this from my grandma. I like go back, like the Old Rugged Cross. Would that be one? That's like an old spiritual kind of a thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Or Amazing Grace, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me. You know, something like that.
Don't let the sun go down. No. It would be like, you know, you got the lights going and everyone's really intense, because it is a really intense scene. You just be like, all by myself, gonna be all by myself. That would be mine.
Mama just killed a man.
Live and let die. Dun, dun. Hey, and then the organ, right? That would be perfect. Dun, 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 dun. You kind of
like Bohemian Rhapsody, though.
Oof.
You know, Mama just killed a man.
Oh, man.
Put a crown upon his head.
Yikes.
Hung him up now. Anyway.
Yikes. No, but I am serious, though. They would do this thing. It was very impressive. And as a kid, it had good production values. I mean, it was, and I remember one time as a kid going, okay, you get ready for church. You got to go to church on a Good Friday. I was like, oh, yeah. I like this one. It's spooky. You know? It was like, it just, you know, what do you say? You know, kids like spooky.
Yeah.
Good Friday is pretty spooky.
It is.
I mean, it's not a good story. I mean, it's supposed to be a good story, right?
Well, their thing is it's good because it gets to the redemption of mankind. And,
no, dude, you're overthinking it. Good Friday is the Empire Strikes Back of Christianity.
Man,
I mean,
that's true. And in Return of the Jedi,
Jesus is in carbonite from Darth Devil Vader and stuff. Yes, and then don't worry. In a couple days, you'll have Return of the Jesus Jedi.
Right, Return of the Messiah.
Yeah, exactly. It is. It's like, you know, you gotta have a Christmas is kind of episode for A New Hope, you know.
Right.
Good Friday is kind of the Empire Strikes Back, and then Easter is like Return of the Jedi. Why not just replace
man.
it with that, you know?
In my head right now, I've got the little mantra over and over. You're going to hell. You're going to hell.
For that? For that? Have you been listening to what I've been saying for the last 20 minutes? You said I'm going to hell for that? Oh, man. Whew. We're just catering to the good old boys that have a beer and are sitting out on their truck or something or whatever.
Right.
But of course, if you're doing that, you'd be doing this. You know, lifting your scarf or whatever, which I still haven't looked for. Your mask. Everyone's making masks now.
Oh yeah.
So everyone's making these masks, but
it's arts and crafts time.
Yeah, so you kind of go home bummed out after Good Friday.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah. And I remember the people who would sing the solo at the end, because it would be the last song, and then that's it. Then you extinguish your candle, and then you just walk silently out. It definitely has good production value. Now, here's the thing. As sacrilegious as this sounds, no. Let's file through history.
Okay.
And understand, and Jason, you'll come along with me on this one for sure, because you know.
Oh, sure.
Recall that the church, the organized church and organized religion, was the regal cinemaplex of its time.
Oh yeah.
Folks didn't go out to the movies.
Nope.
Folks didn't dial up their Netflix and chill. They pretty much lived their peasantry lives, their crappy peasant lives, and if they had a few pence, maybe could go to the pub and get drunk on ale and maybe listen to a minstrel who was probably sang out of tune, or you could go to your local congregation and hear the best music in town and lots of fancy stuff and light show and stained glass and candles.
A nice
and stuff.
a fiery sermon by a guy in a funky robe.
And stories, stories. And so the church religion was the I mean, that's why until Mozart, Haydn, Beethoven, you get into that area where it's like then they're making music for like the noble people.
Yeah.
Previous to that, Bach and all those folks, all that's church music. All that's music that they made for the cardinals and the people and the whoever. Well, in Bach's case, it wasn't a cardinal. It was actually a Lutheran thing. All those hymns, and even later, like, after music got a little bit more secular.
Right.
You still have like people like Mendelssohn and stuff writing these big hymn tunes and all that. I mean, it was like the A ticket in town back in the Middle Ages.
Oh yeah.
So, so that the entertainment factor, the ritual factor had to be there,
Right.
And if you're just, what are you going to do on Saturday night? Well, drive-ins won't be invented for 300 years. For that matter, the horseless buggy.
The cathedral.
Yeah. So, and the music, all of our Western European music, what people call classical, all came out of that whole religious style. I mean, it began with like the chants and all that. I say this because I once had to study all this stuff. Whew. Chants.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're just like, but anyway.
Yeah.
Yes, I could just say words from the middle-aged church music. It's like I still have the books too,
Wait until you find yourself taking dogmatic theology classes and learning Latin.
Oh, that's right. So, do we talk about this?
Well, sure.
Your personal...
Yeah, that's fine.
So you were this is great. This is exclusive. Here we go.
Oh yeah.
After everything we just said right now, Jason Allen, wait till you hear this.
Right. Well,
now you were in seminary, right?
Well, I was kind of what they call it. I guess you call it like pre-seminary.
Pre-seminary.
It's before I start.
It's like premarital sex. It's sort of
pretty much. It's religious foreplay actually.
Exactly.
And, no, but I had to take some classes as kind of like survey classes almost.
Yeah.
As we roll into to the certain sort of where everyone else is at, I had to get up to speed. So I had to take some some survey courses to get up there, and I had to study dogmatic theology and Christology. And of course, anything down at Mount Angel and the seminary, you have to. They're still teaching Latin a little bit.
But you actually went there?
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
To Mount Angel?
For a while, yeah.
What is that? An abbey?
It's a full seminary and abbey.
Okay, so it's a seminary. A seminary
and monastery.
And monastery, yeah. It's a. I'm trying to remember what the difference. Well, seminary is like a school.
Seminary is preparatory for priesthood. And they have the monastery. It's Benedictine.
See, so, excuse me. All I know from monasteries and abbeys, from my heritage and going to Europe, is it's like that's where they make the booze. That's all I know. It's like what happens here? What's this monastery do? Well, we make a good ale. It's like,
right. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
But
we sell this liquor. Ooh. So you went to this seminary.
Right before I met the wife, yeah.
There you go. So you were thinking about being a priest.
Oh yeah, in order to you got to go through a whole huge process to make sure, for discernment and stuff. Had the you got to have not only a physical, but you got to go see a shrink, and they got to determine if you're doing it for the right reasons. Because a lot of if someone's trying to escape a bad thing or they have some mental trauma, sometimes it's common to escape into what they call escaping into the priesthood. Taking the robes, in other words. Yeah, and you have to.
This is some 80s sort of starring Tommy Lee Jones as the U.S. Marshal, and it's like, we know Jason Allen's here somewhere. Wait a minute, he's hiding in Mount Angel. We'll find him. You're in the robes,
Next thing you know, Harrison Ford, like that movie Witness. Next thing you know, he's implanted in the Catholic Church. He's wearing a robe.
There you go. It's Witness. It's The Fugitive.
Yeah, I'll have this guy run down by Vespers.
Yeah. Actually, a really good movie. I know you've seen this movie before, and I cannot think of the name, so help me out with this. Okay. I need it on Blu-ray or DVD. I remember I really liked it. It stars Sean Connery, I believe. It actually has a pretty good cast, but Sean Connery is one of the main stars, and a young, I believe, Christian Slater.
Yes. Name of the Rose.
Name of the Rose, and it's a murder mystery.
Yep.
Set like in the Middle Ages in a monastery. Mm-hmm. It's real good, and it's a murder mystery. It's a whodunit.
Yeah. I can't remember what. I can't
Name
remember
of the Rose. Name of the Rose.
Yeah, I can't remember what network did it, but this last year they started up that as a series, and Sean Connery's character is played by John Turturro.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, good. It's good.
Nice. Really?
Good. Yep.
That's on right now?
You can see the first season. Yeah, first season's done.
Well, there you go.
It will be sometime this summer, I think.
I just remember the movie came out and was like, "What's this?" And then and back then, Siskel and Ebert were reviewing, and they were like, hey, this movie's really cool. It's funky. Yeah. It's a whodunit, but it's like a whodunit with monks, and you're like, wow, that's kind of cool. That's interesting. And I remember I enjoyed it. What came on? Well, I just catch stuff on HBO.
Yeah, it was a book first. Umberto.
Yeah, it was based on a book. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna mess up his last name. So.
Yeah, you're right. I recall that. Yeah. Fun movie. So there you go. So really it would be Jason, and you'd be hiding out, and there'd be like Sean Connery. Mm-hmm. I know you're hiding out. They accused you of killing your wife, but you didn't really kill your wife. It was really the one-armed priest that killed your wife.
Right.
But nobody's seen the one-armed priest, and so here we are.
That's right.
And I believe that's Tommy Lee Jones coming up right now. You better go hide.
Also starring a younger Ron Perlman.
Yeah, I remember it has a good cast. I think if you go back and watch the movie, you'll see it isn't like Denham Elliott. There's some other people I don't know, but like folks like that, like I mean, it's like a pretty much an all guy cast, right? It might be like one woman who's the love interest of Christian Slater, right?
Yeah, she's the lady that's she's a young woman that's getting persecuted by I think probably Jesuits, I think.
Yeah, but it's set in a monastery, so it's pretty much a sausage fest.
Dominicans, sorry, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's got a lot of, it's like Glenn Ross, but with monks.
That's right. Oh, man. Now I got to get that out of my head.
St. Francis the Machine.
Always be praying. ABP.
Yes. Always be praying.
Oh, man.
Oh my gosh. Chimney is for closers.
That's right.
The chimney, I think that's how you say it. That's that monk. What is that, Dutch or something?
Something like that.
You know what I'm talking about, that chimney?
I would go the other way, though. I'd go the Eucharist is for closers.
Well, in a way it is, right?
Yeah.
Wow, welcome to your religious comedy today. So you went to this seminary thing, and so they checked you out.
You would not believe the process that you have to go to actually get the green light. In fact, it culminates.
I don't want to speculate.
No, there's no casting couch.
Oh boy.
But not many people know this. But in order to get the official green light from your not only diocese, but it goes to Rome. You got to get the okay.
Yeah. I did know that in somewhere vague information that you like. Now, is that the green light to go? Is that the green light to go for it, or is that the green light to become a priest? Because I think
it's the green light to become a priest.
Okay, so to start the process.
Right. So somewhere in the Archdiocese of Portland, somewhere in a dusty file somewhere, there's actually a little form that is signed by the Pope that says that I was okie doke.
Now was this JP2?
JP2, yeah.
JP2.
Yeah. I mean, they had everything mapped out. I was going to do my postgraduate work in Gregorian University in Rome.
Wow.
And then I was supposed to come back to the diocese and start, laying down the wangoo on people.
There's an alternate universe.
Yeah.
Where Jason is a retired priest writing mystery novels that are set in the Vatican somewhere.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Starring Tom Hanks, and the movie version star Tom Hanks.
Right, like the Dan Brown.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
Except that, yeah, I had, even then I had like the bald head and the goatee, and a couple of them, they would refer to me as the biker priest.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, because I had I still had the earring in and the bald head and the goatee, and yeah. So they got a kick out of it.
What motivated you? I mean,
well, there was late 80s, early 90s, things had gone south. I was on the road to being married and having a kid, but the kid didn't make it.
Oh.
And so I was an angry young man for a while. I joined the Army, went around shooting things for a while, came home an angry young man, and then I was sitting on the couch. It was like maybe 1 in the morning, and I was just reading the review, the Clackamas Review or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then they had a story in it about this new priest that had been done down in I'll go ahead and give the Christ the King over there.
Yeah.
By LaSalle, and he is a guy.
I know it.
Comes from South Central LA. Grown up in gangs and totally turned his life around and was the new parish priest. And I read that and something just clicked. I'm like, wow, this guy turned stuff around. Maybe there's hope for a sinner like me.
Oh, wow.
So I went through RCIA, became a Catholic, and next thing you know, here I am.
So you weren't even a Catholic?
No, my parents were Presbyterian.
Wow.
I was a convert. And
I mean, but it was like convert. It wasn't like, like some kid, you go, I might play a little soccer. It's like, no, I want to be Lionel Messi. Okay?
Right.
Well, just go straight for it. Let's
not mess around. I want Pele.
Yeah. It's the Champions League or nothing.
That's right.
Huh.
Yeah.
So you converted and you.
Yep. And then after that,
started that process.
Yep. And then after that, I started thinking about, maybe I want to do that, and started doing that.
Nope.
And then met the wife, which kind of.
How long did you spend in the Army?
I was there about 3 years.
Yeah.
And then I blew my ankle out, and then they gave me the choice of either having the Army medics work on it or giving me a honorable medical. And I remember talking to a friend of the family who happened to be like a colonel in the National Guard, and he was like, "Don't let those guys near your ankle."
Have you seen MASH? Hawkeye Pierce?
Yeah, and by that time, I was a cavalry scout, which is reconnaissance.
Oh, nice.
So
you were Robert Duvall.
But because you got to remember at that time there was some stuff
Smells like victory.
Right, and I'd seen enough.
Yeah, and were you like stateside most of the time, or did you go somewhere?
About 40%.
So you went out of the country?
That is something I won't talk about.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
It's an interesting story, when you look in hindsight, the chronology of, because it's kind of, how do you go from point A, to point Z?
Yeah.
And it's kind of it was a weird ride, but.
And then, so then you're getting all signed up for the seminary and all that.
Oh yeah.
Rock and roll. And
About ready to go. Yeah, I'd come up for a weekend, right?
Yeah.
And a friend of mine who that I did a show with.
Yeah.
He was kind of hanging out with this one girl, and the girl had a cousin and said, hey, so it's the whole wingman thing, right?
Right.
Just hang out with this one girl while I'm hanging out with this other girl. And I was like, I can't, at first I was like, I can't really do that. I mean, I'm just,
Right.
That's not my gig. That's not my bag anymore.
I'm dating the church, dude.
Right, yeah. I'm marrying Jesus. But,
exactly.
he said, hey, can you, all right, yeah, I'll run interference for you. And then I met the wife.
Wow.
And that kind of, that ended that.
Just like that. Just
like that. Although there is now special dispensations in the Catholic Church that you can be married. And still...
Oh, they are doing that now?
Yep.
Finally?
Uh-huh.
Well, that's the new Pope... What's his name again?
Francis,
thanks. I should know that. I watched the movie. By the way, it's on Netflix. I recommend it. It was nominated for some Academy Award. It didn't win. Maybe it was Jonathan Pryce and Anthony Hopkins, the two popes. It's a dramatization of Benedict and Francis and the whole transition and how that happened. It's a drama, but it's actually good. But it's like you got to be in. I'm into stuff. I'm into historical stuff. If it has to do with the Vatican or something like that, yeah, I'm down. I dig that stuff. So I liked it, but I know some people would be like, it's boring. I don't want to watch this.
Right.
I got to watch Tiger King. Great, you watch Tiger King.
I refuse to watch that show. Refuse.
I know. I know it's one of the problem with the Tiger King. Which is totally like Good Friday. The hottest #1 show, not just on Netflix, but in the last week online, like it's probably blown through every rating. Like the #1 water cooler thing that everyone's talking about is the Tiger King, which is on Netflix.
I can't do it.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like, do you watch it so that you can understand what people are talking about? But I already sort of get the gist, and it's just like, well, and I don't know, man. If you grow up in Clackamas County, that's kind of the Florida of Oregon.
Yeah.
There's a few Tiger Kings around here, or there used to be.
Oh, yeah.
So...
Yeah, I can't do it. And nothing against those people who find it entertaining. That's not where I'm coming from.
Right. Yeah.
But it's not for me. I don't like the whole dysfunction on a grand scale.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if it was someone between the Tiger King, which is kind of a one-off, I think it's like 6 episodes or something, or watching like the 20th season of Survivor, it's like, go to the Tiger King.
Yeah.
But so the seminary.
Yeah.
So that crazy dang old seminary.
Right.
Wow. Hey, lady. Jerry Lewis.
There's a lot of.
Is a practicing monk.
Right.
Oh man.
Hey, Abbott.
Yeah. But then your life changed again, and then of course you have kids and a family, and that's got to be good. It's got to be rewarding.
Yeah.
Be careful.
I'm kidding. The next thing you know, later the wife's going like, you have to think about it.
Yeah. It'll be. No, it'll just be like, you wake up in the horse head in your bed that your family put there. Everyone. Like,
we don't have a horse, so it's going to be like the family dog, right?
Oh, no.
I'm going to wake up and there's Fido there.
That's
like,
dark, dude. I was trying to avoid that.
Oh, well.
That's dark, man.
Okay.
The hamster.
The hamster. Or the old... riding horse my daughter had when she was like 4.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. Well, that's what it'll do. Like the toy riding horse your daughter puts in.
underneath it.
Send a message. We can get to you. The family can get to you. Wow. I mean, we've never really talked about, I mean, I knew about the seminary and,
Yeah.
you know, I knew you were in that, but we never like talked much about it in detail.
No. There's some parts, especially the military. That I
understand. Like. Yeah. No, it's yeah. It's just it is an interesting shift, and people do that, and I find that interesting. I don't see myself as that kind of a person. Like it's, you know.
Yeah.
And then one day I woke up and I decided maybe I'll have an Eggo waffle instead of a hash brown. My life was changed.
That's right. Had I gotten that Eggo waffle and applied that syrup, things would be far different.
This was a pivotal point in my life when I changed my breakfast food. When I moved to the granola with the raisins. I mean, it's just it's really fascinating. I think the changes. Do you ever wonder though? Okay, so when you make all these big changes in your life, you go here. Do you ever wonder, like, you know, like all of a sudden, you know, Star Trek, and I literally watched this the other night. There's the we're beaming Jason. Okay, all right, Scotty. Beam Lieutenant Commander Jason, Commander Allen up, right? And then all of a sudden your molecules are in the transport and they get split up and you're shot through different time lines, you know?
Oh, yeah.
One timeline you're over here in the seminary. Do you ever wonder about that?
I do, yeah. In fact, there was early on, there was a certain amount of guilt. Like I was, you're almost like you're letting God down, But
so my background with Catholicism, even though it's Protestant, is I grew up in a neighborhood where, some of the people were Protestant, the religious people, the other half were Catholic, and so a lot of my friends were Catholic, and we're talking the typical, here I am, and then like Irish Catholic family, Italian Catholic family. Yes, big Italian Catholic family. Dad joked about the mafia all the time. The mafia, the family mafia jokes flying, the Godfather jokes just flying up there. But, and then I ultimately ended up going to the Catholic high school.
Sure.
Right? So, like, most of my friends were Catholic. And so I got the whole Catholic, and I had to study, I had to read about this stuff,
Sure.
I mean, I already knew about the Christianity, but then I had to do the Catholic version of it.
Right.
So that was my background, and that was interesting. But some of the stuff, like what you said about you felt guilty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the whole Catholic guilt thing, right?
But about God, like, I turned my back on God. I remember one of the priests or something that had a discussion about that once in class. And the discussion went to the point of, if you turn your back on the priesthood, it wasn't right for you in the first place. God understands.
Right.
So there was some bit about that in school once where that came up, and it was like, or it was in a book or something. I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's where I ended up. I mean, I always believe that it is very much a calling.
Yeah.
It's the right person, the right sort of temperament, that sort of thing. It's got to be a calling for that sort of vocation.
You got to be into it. I mean, you got to. I mean, I don't know. It's complicated. It's very complicated. Why people get into things, but so that there was that discussion, and then there was like there was a teacher that we had, and he was just a regular teacher dude, and I guess he left senior year or whatever, and it's like, oh yeah, he's gonna go to seminary. He wants to go be a priest. And I was like, that guy? Oh, interesting, you know. And then there were people who were like brothers, and then they left the church. It was like, no, they, you know, fell in love, and then I don't know. I don't want to get into all the scandalous kind of things, but you know what I mean. There's all these stuff, you know. I think, you know, the last thing people need is a lot of guilt and a lot of stuff coming on down on them, unless they deserve it. But,
Well, no,
but you know about that kind of thing. You know, it's
all that stuff disappeared. I mean, when you have your first kid, you know, it's like, well, okay, it was the right thing.
You're like, what did I just do? Oh my god! Get me out of here.
Right. Got some of that anesthesia for me.
Pretty much having a kid is just like the scene in Monty Python's The Meaning of Life.
Yeah.
Check it out. Just like that. Bring in the machine that goes ping, ping, ding.
Right.
Catch it. Look at the baby. There's something else that was just on my mind about the whole priesthood and all that stuff. The guilt and there's a lot of that. I mean, I was kind of like, I was fascinated because, you know, again, I dig the historic stuff. Obviously I'm not like the magic of the ritual and things like that. I'm not that much of a magical guy, you know. Doug Henning can kiss my ass. Whoa! Anyway. I swear to God, you know what this is? Lemonade and tea, and that's all this is, man. I swear. That's it. It's just lemonade and tea, man. Maybe that's why. Maybe I'm getting salty in my, you know.
I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe I need a beer. Mellow out, dude. But I was fascinated by all of that stuff. You know, and I'm always fascinated. Well, what's the history? Why do you believe this? What's the thing behind it? You know, and wow, look at those are some fancy buildings that people spent, you know, some time on.
Oh yeah.
I hear that Sistine Chapel. It didn't take, you know, it's not like a paint by numbers, is it? You know, that's pretty fancy. Right. So I was always interested in that, and I was kind of like, maybe I should check out this seminary stuff. That's kind of interesting. I was into philosophy. I was like reading a lot of Buddhism, all kinds of stuff, you know, you name it, right? I had this one because we had to take the religion thing. That was a requirement.
Comparative religion. Yeah.
You're here in our school. You take our religion. Okay.
Yeah.
And, you know, the first couple of years, you're like learn all the basics, the catechism, you know, all the Catholic stuff. It's like, oh, wow, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And then later you can take all this other advanced things and whatnot. And look, like I had some good teachers. I had a priest and I had a nun who she belonged to it's not a sect. What do they call it? It's not a nunnery, whatever organization. And they didn't wear a habit or anything. She just wore regular clothes.
Yeah, there are some holy orders that do not wear.
Real like it was like, nah, we don't. You know, I had the Irish Catholic nun who wore the traditional habit. She was sweet lady too. You know, I had a lot of respect for these people. Believe it or not, no matter what you hear right here, right now, people are people, and I have a lot of respect for people's choices, and that is a heavy choice for people who go into the clergy and all that. And, you know, there are, look, you know, forget about reading the headlines. You know, there are people who have made great sacrifices in the clergy. I mean, look at all kinds of things, you know, people protecting people and all that. So, but this lady, this nun, she didn't wear a habit. And so we were doing like all kinds of stuff, and it was kind of like almost it turned into like self-study or whatever. Yeah. And so I was like, hey, do you mind if I read this Buddhist thing? She was like, no, go right ahead. It's like, cool. Just write a report on it when you're done. Sweet. So I had just like doing all this stuff. And I was like fascinated by it, philosophy. And then when I got to college, I took a little philosophy. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, ooh, maybe not. But I got into that stuff, and I thought, this would kind of be interesting. Like, what if you went to seminary and you were studying this stuff? You're like this really in depth, and this stuff goes back hundreds. This guy goes back centuries.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Thomas Aquinas.
Oh, he's a latecomer.
Yeah, but I mean, it was like, I'm digging some of this Thomas Aquinas stuff. This is, this is an interesting stuff. They're working out, And I was just like, so I, was thinking, well, seminary would be interesting if I can bring all my dirty Frank Zappa records and my girlfriend with me.
Right. It's just college with crosses. It's cool.
Yeah. I mean, it was. I mean, can we make it a little bit seminary and a little Animal House?
Oh, man.
Can we do that?
That's right, Father Bluto.
Oh yeah, I mean it just premarital seminary, Yeah.
That Beta House.
I mean, you're young, you're a guy. You have,
Yeah, but in this case, the keg
and bring my drums,
sacramental wine,
and my band. Oh right. Yeah, the wine, sacramental wine would be empty pretty quick. So I'd have my drums, I'd have my band, my girlfriend, seminary by day. Yeah, it's like a real Jack Black thing, isn't it? Right?
Oh yeah, seminary by day, partying rock star by night.
Toga.
That's right.
Yes.
Oh.
Father Brown, we won't be having any toga parties.
Right.
In the Abbey. May I remind you, sir?
Abbot Wormer.
Yes.
From now on, they're on double secret probation.
This totally gave me an excellent tangent, because I do want to mention it, because it's worth mentioning. Totally, you just tangent it. That whole, like we're like seminary mashing up with Animal House and stuff. This is a death. We had a sad death. 91 years old, Mort Drucker from Mad Magazine. The great legendary artist Mort Drucker passed away. Again, he was 91. And the reason I say that is because we're talking about something that almost could be a Mad Magazine parody.
Oh, yeah.
When I was a kid, those things were must-reads.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking about Mort.
Yeah.
There, and
he drew such great caricatures of the actors, of the people. Just, I don't know. Maybe you know what? I'll throw up a visual aid here.
And he didn't get the credit that poor guy deserved. I mean, because most people, when they see it, they just, it's Mad Magazine, and then they leave it at that. Meanwhile, I mean, this guy did some iconic art. I mean,
awesome
modern, pop culture artwork that people can easily and instantly identify with. I mean, that's Mad Magazine.
Well, I put in the images. I was going to show one, and so much so, and I'd forgotten about this, but then some people posted on Facebook. He did the poster for American Graffiti.
That makes sense.
Which was perfect for that movie. Because kind of when you think the 60s and you think of Mad Magazine was it was in the 70s as well, but it really had a lot of juice in the 50s and the 60s. It was kind of the edgy kids or comedy magazine. There's the one collage. I posted. Here it is. There's this wonderful. Let's see if I can. I just wanted to show you this one collage as an example, but go look it up. I remember, like, for example, way before I ever saw The Godfather for the first time, I read the Mad Magazine parody.
Yeah.
And somewhere, and now, I wish I would have those. Sorry, I'm trying to go full screen. Thank you. I wish that I had all those old Mad magazines that I had when I was a kid.
Right.
With those Mort Drucker parodies. But I do still have a few because I collected the early days of Star Wars before there was anything you could collect from Star Wars, like from the original movie.
Yeah.
I have like original books and whatnot from Star Wars, and I collected the Mad Magazine parodies of Star Wars.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and they were great. They were fantastic. But here's a collage. It's the resolution online is not very good, just as well. But you got Captain Kirk in the right-hand corner and Spock in the middle, and Frank Sinatra and Julie Andrews and Batman, and I mean it's kind of old school, but he did new stuff too. But he was just brilliant.
Oh yeah.
And and again, okay, drawing, art, fine art, something I cannot do. I'd love to be able to do it.
Yeah.
And it's like people are like, oh, well, we could just show you. No, you can't. I just don't have the talent. I'm always amazed by people who can draw.
Yeah, me too. All I can do is stick figures. That's about it.
Yeah. Anybody who can just even have a general sense of art or draw, I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Draw cartoonists and all that. But this guy, more his caricatures of people and actors, like when he did The Godfather, when he did Star Wars and all these movies, they were just so spot on. You knew who that person was.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite like the famous heads of the art, that style of art where you have, is it like an oversized head or whatever of like famous people?
Caricature.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, but more realistic. But he just, and the essence, like when you'd look at an actor like Captain Kirk or whatever, you'd look at the face that he drew, and it was like the essence of Shatner, Captain Kirk.
It was very, I mean, there was a comedic nuance to it. It wasn't like over the top, but
tons of depth. Like the depth, you could actually stare at that, like in the collage there, like just like the Frank Sinatra or whatever. It's just like all the essence of what that guy looks like, and kind of who he is comes out in his art. It's really amazing. I mean, when I saw that, it just made me crave for wanting all my old Mad magazines back.
Yeah, his genius was taking that element, the most identifiable element of somebody, and just amplifying it just a little bit.
Yes.
To where you're right. It was the essence of that person's look, and
like a caricature blows it up. Oop.
Yeah.
That's not what this was. It, like you said, it just he amplified those features just a bit of that person or that character, or I mean, he did like Nixon and he did whoever, whoever they were lampooning in the magazine, and he would just nail it. He would just nail that, whoever it was, just hands down.
Yeah, one of my favorites is Han Solo. I forget what magazine it was, but Han Solo was sitting there and he's pouting over something, and it just cracked me up to see Harrison Ford with this lower lip, sticking out.
I know exactly. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. I mean, like I had the Star Wars one. I don't think I have any others. I don't think I kept any, and it just bums me out because I
Oh,
as a kid, I did go to the supermarket and I would end up getting mad for some reason. I started. I mean, well, hey, I'm a fool. Look, comedy. Hey, um, I really got into Mad Magazine and
me
would
too.
love to pick it up, and I loved those parodies of films. I remember I read them all.
Yeah.
The Exorcist, like
Yeah.
I mean, I was too young to see The Godfather or The Exorcist or any of these movies. These were
Chris,
R-rated movies, basically.
Christopher Reeve, and I remember they call
Oh
it a
yeah,
super duper man.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
oh, it's fantastic
I
stuff.
read I read that one. Yeah. If you say all these, it was like, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember that one. It was so good. I mean, um, I ended up following last year. I think he just started, like he just got on Instagram. Al Jaffe
Oh
from
yeah.
Mad Magazine. Now these
Another
guys,
cheat.
Mort was 91. I mean, these guys are up. None of these
Yeah.
guys are young.
They got. I'll be in there. What, late 70s, 80s now easily.
80s at least.
Yeah.
80s. I don't know how, but so Al Jaffe's on Instagram, and he had it's a very specific style as well. It just
And he was the spy versus spy guy, right?
no,
Them.
did he do Spy versus Spy? His art. If you go up on Instagram, you see his.
Check it out. Yeah.
He did. You know what? He did a lot, or did he do it exclusive? Actually, I think exclusively. He did the folds.
Oh, I love those. That's so iconic.
Al did the
Yeah.
folds. Yeah, and as a kid, you loved those, right? Because you knew it was
Yep.
like, okay, here's the thing, and here's what it's all about, and then you're gonna fold it up and get the hidden message. So Al did
Yeah.
those.
Yeah, for those of you out there that don't know that, in the back page of every Mad magazine, on the inside of the back cover, it was a trifold. You could fold it, and it changed from one picture into another, and it was a staple of every Mad magazine.
Al is 99.
Wow.
Yeah. These guys are. I mean, these guys were like started in the. I want to say in the 60s, right? 50s, 60s. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Al is 99, and he is on Instagram, and he did post. I did see a post about Mort. Yeah, he his trademark feature, the Mad Fold-In.
Mm-hmm.
But he also did other stuff in Mad, and very distinctive too, just like Mort Drucker. It was like, and that was the other thing too. They had these iconic artists,
Yeah.
and they weren't the same. Al Jaffe was totally different from Mort Drucker. Mort Drucker had that caricature realism. Al Jaffe had this almost like a kind of a goofy-ish style or whatever. It was really charming though.
Yeah. Yeah, that was
Dang.
the amazing thing. They all had their own, I guess you call it what a stylistic personality,
Mm-hmm.
where it was unique to them, as you'd think it would be as being artists.
It drove me crazy with I don't know who did Spy versus Spy.
Yeah, I remember because I remember they came out with just like books. They don't need to get like little paperback books, Mad books, and it'd be back artwork and back things of their work. And I know there were Al Jaffe books, yeah, but there was another one. I can't remember if it was
Antonio Prohias. Antonio Prohias was the original creator. He was a prolific cartoonist in Cuba.
Oh, wow.
For his political satire. He fled the United States in 1960, 3 days before Fidel Castro's government took hold. And he sought work at Mad Magazine in 1960.
Wow.
So, yeah, kind of when he started. Yeah.
So who is the guy that did Alfred E. Newman?
Well, Strucker did him a lot.
Yeah.
But the original design, wasn't there a documentary a few years back?
Yeah, because
was it on Netflix? I thought I saw a documentary. It was a few years ago about Mad Magazine.
Oh, I gotta watch that.
Yeah, I know. I actually, boy, after I saw that and I saw his art and he had passed away, it just made me pine. And was it last year that Mad shuttered the doors? It was last year.
Yep.
And yeah, Alfred E. Newman is a fictitious. Look at my glasses today. I have to read. I almost thought about wearing my contact. Alfred E. Getting the old man thing. The magazine's editor Harvey Kurtzman claimed the character in 1954, and he was named Alfred E. Newman by Mad's second editor Al Feldstein in 1956. Yeah. So, my grandfather had. Wow, where is it? Oh man, now I want it. When I was growing up, he had a Alfred E. Newman, like a framed Alfred E. Newman, but I think it was Alfred E. Newman, and he had a bottle and he was drunk.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I know when we were young, my older brother, you could send away to Mad Magazine, and then they would send you a frameable photograph of Alfred E. Newman with the iconic, "What me worry."
I was just gonna say, what was his tagline?
Yeah, "What me worry," and
wow,
yeah, it's pretty. Man, that's such a unique piece of Americana,
Oh yeah, huge, and it's just. For me, I'm not a very good collector. I'm just...
Me either.
It's not. I did, when Star Wars came out, I really liked Star Wars. And so at the time, there wasn't anything, so I collected up what I could. So I've got a bunch of the original Star Wars bubblegum cards and some books and the Mad Magazine parodies of Star Wars and articles. I mean, this was before they made toys. This was when they didn't know what the heck Star Wars was. They were like, we released it. This movie's going to bomb and tank and no one's going to like it. And kids like us were like, oh, that's great, man. Chewbacca, I like that,
Yeah.
Got my hands on some Star Wars stuff, and then later it became a phenomenon. And now, people have hundreds of thousands of Star Wars toys, characters, and stuff. It's like, all right, man, whatever, So I there were a few things that I hung on to for odd reasons, but I've never been much of a collector. So like my original, the Mad magazines that I had, unless I come upon them, that would be cool. But I think they're long gone, and it makes me think when this happens, and I'm like, oh man, I'd love to crack open some of those old Mads and read through those Mort Drucker parodies of those movies. He did Jaws, in the 70s with all the great movies. You know which one I think I have that I kept? Because I was into the sci-fi. Close Encounters. He did a Close Encounters one, and I think I have that. I think I kept the Close Encounters.
I can't remember the title they gave it. It was Close Encounters of the something kind. It was fantastic. I still remember the little panel, or whatever, of Richard Dreyfuss, and he's doing that thing in the potatoes or whatever it is, making the mountain.
They were always... Because Richard Dreyfuss was in a ton of movies when he was young. I mean, later, too. Mr. Holland's Opus and all that stuff. But when he was younger, he did Jaws, he did Close Encounters, he did The Goodbye Girl, was it? So they were always, ripping on Richard Dreyfuss,
American Graffiti.
American Graffiti? Yes. American Graffiti. Thank you. I'm trying to... I was trying to look this up here. Oh, maybe I don't have it. Oh, there's the cover, though. I do. Yeah, Alfred E. Newman is the alien coming out of the ship.
Nice.
It just says Close Encounters on the cover, but I'm looking on Pinterest here, and there's one with Jabba the Hutt and Princess Leia. You know, the famous bikini thing. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
Rocky.
Yes, I remember that one.
Yeah, Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
Charlie's Angels. I remember that one.
Yep.
Oh man, it just brings back memories, you know.
Yeah, like you, my older brother collected the Mad magazines, and I remember he had stacks. I mean, stacks
of
Mad magazines, and I would love to be able to thumb through those again. And you know, like you were talking about earlier, I mean, they're long gone. And, but he still, I know he has these. He has a bunch of those paperback books that Mad Magazine would put out from time to time with the past artwork and everything in there. And I know he still has a bunch of those, and which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I again, because like I know, you know, a lot of people who are comic book nerds, comic book collectors, they collected a lot of comic books when they were kids. I never was that kind of a person, so I didn't think to collect like Mad Magazine. And Mad Magazine is in that weird realm of not really being a comic book, yet from an art standpoint and a creative standpoint, it's very, you know,
satirical. Nowadays,
seriously,
call it a graphic novel, you know, one of those graphic periodicals.
But I think one of the things about Mad that I remember, and this doesn't apply to me, but is in a family, it would often be the older brothers, the older sibling that would pass the Mad magazine down to the younger sibling, you know? It's like, as the younger kid would get older, it's like, what are you reading? That's my Mad magazine, right? And that was kind of how Mad circulated in the pop culture.
Totally, yeah. Yeah, so when in our household, my older brother got them and stuff, and then I started getting into them myself, and then it got to the point where I was, you know, buying them. And fantastic stuff.
The other thing that is so wonderful, I will sing the praises of Mad Magazine. What is wonderful is, you know, it was geared toward, I guess, teenagers, right? And young adults.
Yeah.
You know, kids-ish. I can't remember when I first got into it, but, you know, and you know, it's like one of those things you might get into it when you're younger. Some of the humor might go over your head a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Gosh, I think they did I think once they had like Last Tango in Paris and stuff. I mean, they had some pretty dicey stuff in there, like even for being, I mean, they didn't like draw nudity necessarily, although
they would come close.
There's that other artist. It's not Vangelis. Vangelis is the musician, but I think it starts with a V. He's the guy who would remember in the margins, the little tiny things in the margins. He was the artist who did those, and he would sneak in like naked ladies and stuff in the margin. I do remember that was his thing.
Yeah.
But the thing about Mad Magazine that I think about is it was, you know, it was geared toward the teenage, young adult, and it was subversive. It was subversive humor. It was perfectly American, you know, to be sarcastic and subversive, to question authority, you know, to poke fun at authority figures.
Right. It was all done in this tongue-in-cheek sort of gag sort of atmosphere. It was never like, you know, like a political cartoon where they would totally lampoon something. It was done very, you know, fun-loving, tongue-in-cheek sort of.
Yeah, I mean they did do a lot of, you know, Nixon and Agnew stuff, but yeah, it was kind of. it would probably be subtle in there,
Yes.
the difference with today is that's the beauty of it. It's like they could be subversive, but they could be more subtle rather than being partisan.
Right.
It's like, hey, we're gonna do this, and we're partisan, and the humor is gonna be like, nothing wrong with that.
Because the caricature of the drawings spoke for themselves, right? You didn't really have to go over,
Yeah. But to me, it's just that whole. It's something that I really worry about America, especially right now.
Yeah.
That when I was growing up, kind of, I guess, rebellion, that, I guess subversion would be the right word, do you think?
Yeah.
Being subversive.
Counterculture a
Counterculture. I grew up culturally being taught that questioning authority is maybe a very healthy thing to do, as opposed to not being a healthy thing to do, which is a very uniquely American kind of idea.
Of course, yeah.
And so we're, right now, we're talking about a lot of interesting things that we might be doing in the future under the guise of, I don't know, fighting a pandemic or whatever. Sure. And, our culture is, I don't know. I think there's a good bit of questioning that you always have to do.
Sure.
There's always that, hey, let's do this and it'll be good. And it's like, hey, wait a minute. Hang on a second. Let's take a look at what we're actually doing here. And that's nothing to say that, we don't want to, fight pandemics and things. We obviously want to do that. We don't want people to die. We want a good health system. But there's ways to go about things. And I think as we go along here, and especially this year, we're going to be probably addressing some of those things. And I was always, again, taught or brought up that as much as you might worry that people are a-holes, the person who does question the authority and does go the counter and is that should be listened to, because maybe there's an idea there that we should be considering, as opposed to culturally we all just are automatons and we go nope, because we have lots of examples of that in history and in culture.
Yeah.
And how's that working out for you?
Right. I think it's almost a duty of a faction to it's like you throw spaghetti up against the wall, it's got to stick, right? But I think it's almost the duty of a certain faction to question whether the motives of certain things. So that the anti-knee-jerk reaction. Hey, wait a minute, let's pump the brakes for a second. Is this what we really want, rather than just no, let's go, we're gonna do this.
Yeah, jump on board for the big win, son.
Right, especially when you're dealing with nowadays misinformation meets propaganda. I mean, you have to even more sit back and discern the motivations and more importantly, the ramifications of certain things. I mean, yes, it may address a certain issue right now, but how does it affect the overall structure of a republic?
Right. Well, there you go. You said the word propaganda.
Yeah.
And if there's one thing that the counter culture, the being subversive, being the rabble rouser, the kind of, or not rabble rouser actually. That's a kind of a different thing. What word am I looking for here? Um, the that's one of the counters
Counterculture, yeah.
to
Yeah.
things that are cancerous to society, which I think propaganda is.
Yeah.
And makes people think, this type of pop culture, this type of thing like Mad Magazine. I'll cite some other examples.
Yeah.
From when I was growing up, allows people to think for themselves. It allows people to not feel like they have to conform.
Conform, right? And I think one of the number one tools of that has always been is satire.
Absolutely.
So
the things I'm thinking about. So Mad Magazine, right? Started in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. I mean, still going strong when I was growing up, which is basically, this Mad was basically the 70s and the 80s for me. You had National Lampoon, which is more of an adult, magazine, not a kid's magazine, but kind of it was kind of like you went as a kid from Mad Magazine and then graduated as an adult to National Lampoon.
Yes, I was going to bring that up. Yeah, that's like the big brother of or the graduate course from Mad Magazine. It's always been National Lampoon. The collegiate level.
Yes, very much collegiate level. It was started in college. And we're talking about these and the original Saturday Night Live, the original SNL, which was technically a kind of an extension of National Lampoon, of the National Lampoon players. Trying to think. Cheech and Chong.
Yep.
George Carlin records.
Yep. Uh-huh.
In and of itself, rock and roll. Frank Zappa.
Yeah.
So and this is all in the backdrop historically of things like Vietnam, the Nixon administration, Watergate.
Lenny Bruce.
Actually, Playboy magazine.
Yeah.
As well. I mean, from an editorial standpoint, Playboy magazine was.
Rolling Stone.
Yeah. And civil rights movement, by the way, as well.
Yeah.
Let's
not forget that.
Well, I mean, but those were this kind of satire was actually friends to the civil rights movement, friends to the anti-war movement. That's what the satire was questioning.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So these were positive and make no mistake, there was a wonderful vast majority of establishment people who were very much against the Mad magazines of the world, Frank Zappa, National Lampoon, Lenny Bruce, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you'd find excuses to throw these people in jail.
Right.
And I don't know. I remember growing up, that really shaped my thought process, and it's something that I worry. I mean, we have the internet, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have this vast communication network where anyone can get on and pretty much do what they want to do, one way or another.
Yeah.
Now, if the platform that you're on doesn't support what you're saying, you could find something else. The concern that people seem to have is bad ideas will appear on the internet. Well, you know what? Bad ideas have appeared throughout history.
Right.
And a lot of them, or some of them, have come to fruition. The bad ideas have actually come about in actual ideas, in actual historical movements.
Yeah.
and satirists, humorists, subversive artists were the people who fought against that.
Yeah, they questioned it. I mean, the rich history too. Most people, we look to the post World War II era for the coming out of that sort of medium. But it's been here all along. I mean, H.L. Mencken.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Socrates.
Right.
Hey.
Yeah.
But really, I'm thinking more like America and.
Yeah.
I'd have thought about this and thinking about Mort Drucker dying and Mad Magazine and thinking, wow, when I was growing up, I read that cover to cover. I was like, aside from the great art and how wonderful it was, it was like I read that. It was part of me. That and rock and roll and comedy television that would poke fun at the establishment. I like where are those people? Where are the Frank Zappas of today?
Yeah.
Where are these people? And I've been concerned about that for quite some time, and I still am every day, even more. And maybe that's not cool to say during a lockdown pandemic, but you always got to keep your eye on the ball. Powers of the establishment often use crises to gain power.
Never let a good crisis go to waste.
Right.
And you're right. In times of trouble, in times of and national emergency, that the political animal doesn't quit. They see that as a weakening time for them to kind of jam through their master plan, so to speak. And I think this is the time where us, and you're right. I'm looking around the landscape of those satirists and those voices, and I don't see many.
Right.
At least not in the pantheon of the discussion and where okay, that person's saying this. I think we need more of that.
Yeah. And I know it's kind of troubling to talk about it right now, but keep that in the back of your mind because it's important. And what you'll always hear is that, well, it's only temporary. It's only just for the good. It'll only be temporary. These measures will trust me. Once this is all over, it'll go away. We'll put safeguards on it.
Right.
We'll have my favorite argument is we'll have well-meaning good people on this to make sure it's okay. Right. That's not human nature, folks. Not how it works. Look at every example whenever anything. It's like, well, let's put together this. Let's gather up all this data. We'll have safeguards on it and make sure that. Oh, really? How many safeguards have we had over the last just 5 years, 3 years of it's all out there, baby. It's like
That's what I'm about ready to say. Our American version of it has always been that safety. Well, no, the safety valve of it's only 4 years. What can they do in 4 years?
Oh yeah.
Well, it turns out quite a lot, and now when you needed those guardrails when the pandemic hits, those guardrails have been smashed, and now people are, institutions are scrambling to try to stay afloat.
So that's the healthy part of the subversion for me, is that as a kid growing up, what I learned from all of this was when you see someone with a bad idea, and those people that they scream about on social media, on Twitter and everything every day, screaming about those people, which ones we're talking about, the ones YouTube doesn't want to like, those historical people that were in a war, right?
Yeah.
And you scream about it. Yeah. When I was growing up, what I learned is you laughed them out of the room because their ideas were so damn bad.
That's right.
You humiliated their ideas.
satire played its part.
Yeah.
There's nothing more humiliating than being laughed at and mocked.
Yeah, if you're a malleable person, right?
Yeah.
You're like, I'm kind of curious about this group over here. They have some interesting ideas. I kind of like their approach, and then all of a sudden you see over here people are laughing at you, and trashing in a humorous way.
Yeah.
In a way, showing you how ridiculous these ideas are. You're gonna be like, oh, maybe this isn't so cool after all.
Being absurd to point out the absurdity of something.
Right.
That's that. I mean, I think that is very American.
Yeah. And it's a skill. It's like something I'm lacking right now. I could be wrong. I'm looking for it. But it's something that we had so much of in places like Mad Magazine.
Yeah.
I think. You can disagree with me, Jason.
No. There was bastions and outposts of that type that worked because it gave not necessarily maybe an alternative viewpoint, although it did, but it did it in such a way that it used satire to question it.
Right.
And when you questioned it, you found, well, maybe it's lacking because maybe, like you said, maybe it's not a good idea. Humor sometimes can get to the heart of that, but do it in such a way to where we don't end up like we are today, ultra polarized.
Right,
and partisan, where humor, there is no humor anymore. Humor has been surpassed by just visceral, not only hatred, but and I don't know,
violence.
Violence is the next step, and that scares the bejeebus out of me. And I think though that maybe we need to get back to more of that sort of satirical sort of platform, and not be there's a difference between comedy and insult comedy.
Yeah.
And I think we got to find our way, back to that satire.
Save us, Don Rickles. You're our only hope.
Where have you gone, Don Rickles? The nation turns its lonely eyes to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's not true. There are some forms still left. That I mean, and I'll throw this out just as a tiny sort of nugget. The late night shows. Trevor Noah, not so much Fallon, but the other one that uses somewhat satire, The Daily Show. And in other words, NBC, the one show that's on NBC too, that guy, I can't remember his name.
They're okay. I mean, they're very, they're very kind of polarizing, though. I mean, I would admittedly be leaning toward those shows, but thinking about the overall.
Well, Saturday Night Live too. It used to be. I remember, Chevy Chase doing Gerald Ford.
Oh yeah. It was. That's why I said SNL in its early days, when it was really an outgrowth of National Lampoon.
Yeah. Right.
Which, if you watch the documentary and all that, basically it's Lorne Michaels stole the National Lampoon TV show from National Lampoon. I mean, that was basically. No offense, Lorne Michaels or whatever. I mean, he basically was.
He saw a good vehicle and went with it.
He got it done. He got the thing done where they were trying to get it done at National Lampoon. But, most of those people in SNL came from National Lampoon.
Yes.
That whole.
Some of the writers,
yeah. But those definitely those early days of. And the other thing is, it's also the courage. Well, there's also being courageous with that too. National Lampoon wasn't exactly politically correct, you know.
No.
I mean, they overstepped a lot of bounds, but you know, one of my favorite Steve Martin lines, and I don't even remember the joke, but it's on one of his records. It's one of his, and he says something, and I think the audience kind of groans at his joke, and he just stops and he goes, "Hey, comedy's not pretty," you know.
Right.
And it's just like I always loved that line as a kid.
Yeah, he had an album named that.
Was it?
Comedy,
yeah, maybe.
Comedy
Yeah,
is not pretty.
yeah,
But
maybe
he-
it was
but he-
off that album, but it was just
Right.
kind of like an aside from a joke. I mean, it wasn't even a joke. It was just
Right.
kind of, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. On that note,
Right.
but that, you know, that's kind of what got this whole Mad Magazine thing in my head today. With this kind of that takes
Right.
me back. You know, and
Yeah.
you have personal responsibility. You have limits. You kind of figure out where the boundaries are, and
Yeah.
you know.
It's that line between what's funny and what's not
Yeah.
funny.
The one I
Yeah,
was thinking of was Hunter S. Thompson too.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
You know,
Oh yeah.
again, he wrote a lot for Playboy, didn't he?
Playboy and I think
Yeah.
Rolling Stone too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the other thing too. You know, from what we're talking about, you're thinking, oh, it's all liberal, this and this. No, there were conservative writers and stuff and humorists as well
Sure.
who
Yeah.
wrote satire from a conservative bent
Mhm.
in places like Playboy or whatever, and it would be like, oh, okay, well, there you go. You know, it wasn't just like
Yeah.
always one way, you know, the street. I mean, you'd have the whole counterculture hippie movement and all that, and then you'd have massive satire against that culture.
Sure. Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, you talked about it just a minute ago. Hunter S. Thompson. I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't put his ideology as strictly quote unquote liberal. I mean, he did
No.
love to carry the guns, and
Yeah.
he was just as harsh
Yeah.
with the far left as he was
Yeah.
against the Nixon crowd.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. So it wasn't just always one, you know.
Of course, he had his own term for it too. You know, the gonzo journalism. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
extreme journalism.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the world could use another Hunter S. Thompson right about now. A guy that, especially with the sort of extremism that's going on today. I mean, I'm not talking just one side. I think he would have. I mean, I sometimes I think to myself, man, he would have a field day.
Help us, Johnny Depp. You're our only hope.
Right.
Come on, man. Just be
Fear-
yourself.
Fear and Loathing at Mar-a-Lago. You know, I think
That was a pretty good movie, you know. He did a pretty good job. Yeah.
It is backcountry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think he'd have a field day today. Other people I think that would have a field day today. H.L. Mencken, Art Buchwald.
Yeah.
All those satirical sort of voices, I think would have it would be a target-rich environment.
Yeah.
You know.
Gore Vidal.
Yeah. And I sort of wonder, even today, especially today, what a Buckley would think of everything. Something that's taken to its most extreme.
Right.
Because, you know. Because, you know, while he was staunchly conservative, he was staunchly conservative, not
right.
a hijack sort of cultish. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe he would be one of the most vociferous backers of this. but I don't think so.
I don't know. It's hard to say. Hard to say.
Well,
the important thing, though, is the questioning from all sides.
I think so too. And the reason why I say that is because some of the most guys that hung with them, the Bill Crystals, have questioned big time. I mean, it took a lot of courage for those guys because they were, they've now been kind of ostracized from the fold.
Questioning.
But they,
questioning.
Yeah. But.
Yeah, I don't know. On that note, I
right.
didn't mean to bring it down
Segue.
so much, but it was very, very much the kind of inspired by the Mad magazine, bringing my head back into that. And you're a kid,
Right.
you're a little kid, and it's like, hey, this is cool, this is all right, this,
Yeah.
I mean, going back to the religion, I had a pastor in my church once when we were talking Sunday, and it was like, no, it's okay. You question this. Ask yourself what, question this that we're talking about. I welcome it, and it was like, why do you do that? You just be in belief. And he was an old dude too. He was an old guy.
Yeah.
And he was like, because if you question it, you'll examine it. And if you have the faith, it's going to be stronger because you will have examined it.
Exactly. In fact, there was a old priest when I was going through. He's long since passed away, and I thought at the time, a little controversial because, especially Catholics, the dogma, the lion call it. He was always question everything. God wants you to question everything because in the end, like you said, it's stronger. It's been tempered. And so yeah.
On this Good Friday, I will say this, and I'm not okay. To people I know who are staunchly Christian, who are friends of mine, this doesn't apply to you at all. It does not apply to you. In fact, you're the people who are also as angry about this. But there's sure a lot of jackasses out there who wear a religious coat. Most of them are on television. I mean, really. You know what I'm talking about. I mean, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Well,
in fact, I just saw some stuff on Twitter, and it was like, oh, that guy, or that guy, and you're just like, oh, my gosh. And it's really like you have to be in... I don't know what you're thinking to follow that,
Right.
Bunch of nonsense.
Yeah.
I'm not naming names, but they're easy to... Let's just say, turn on religious channels and the big popular dudes, and they're dudes. They're dudes. They're white dudes.
Yep.
Those are the guys I'm talking about. Man.
Right. Yeah. Televangelists, right?
Yeah.
Just go look at them and you'll figure it out. I don't.
And I know people who are religious who are like, oh no, that makes me really angry.
Yeah.
Because that really misrepresents what I believe in. It's like, oh, does it ever?
Yeah, it does. I have a hard time because on this show we talk about pop culture, light stuff and stuff like that. But it's hard if I get into it. We don't want
to. We want to end on a high. Well, I'm just saying it's at the end of the day, it's just a big money grab. That's all it is.
Amen. Yep. That's exactly.
Which on this Good Friday, if you know anything about the belief of about Jesus is about Good Friday and all that.
Right.
It's
overturning the money.
Yeah. But Jesus didn't wear that. He wasn't in the Bible wearing that. What is that weird visor that you wear in the casino with the change things like
the banker visor, green,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll give you 20 and I'll make you some change. That not how it reads in that book. Quite the opposite, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. No, my brother started this almost character. And I took it to new levels when we did it on the show, and when I did it, after that. He came up with this televangelist character called Reverend Spen D. Buck.
Oh yeah, very good.
You got to send in money to fix the Holy El Dorado because you got to get out there and touch people's lives, you know. And so when on the old show and stuff, and when I used to do my political show, I would do live tent revivals, and I would bring out Reverend Spendy Buck, and go into the full, Woo!
That's a good one. I think I remember hearing that one. That's a good one. I like it. I like that one.
But in itself, it's parody, but when you talk about that stuff, and if you are, you try to be a good,
right,
practicing whatever religion you do, stuff like that. Yeah, it make you a little sore. I can understand,
So the message for today on Good Friday from the Curmudgeons is
don't be a dick.
Love there. Yeah, yes, yeah. Okay. There it is. Jason's got it. I don't need to say more. Yeah. There's so much there. Yeah. Just
so
to each other. Just
someone out there named Richard right now is like, "Hey, that's not fair."
No, just be good to each other.
Right. Golden rule, man.
Bill and Ted, be excellent to each other. Really, seriously, that's what this weekend. That's what I'm going to try to be excellent to each other. Yeah, it's religious weekend, very religious. That's what I want to do.
What's are you doing anything for Easter, or are you are you quarantined?
Is anyone doing anything? I mean, you're kind of supposed to be in quarantine, so.
Yeah. Well,
you got family. You're in quarantine with family, so.
Yeah, I figured since I was going to be doing that, I went out and got me a smoker.
Oh, I had one of those once.
Yeah, I'm going to do some smoked ham.
Yep.
And,
ham. Well, don't get me started on the ham.
Nothing says Easter like dead pig parts.
Oh, yeah. Well, dude, I think I'm going to go worship the porcelain chalice.
Excellent.
And everybody have a good Friday.
Good Friday.
And have a great Easter. See you later.
Salute.